We should be good.
All right, it is 6 o'clock and I will call the meeting to order. Tasia, would you do roll call, please?
Yep, Lacey Oster. Here. Roxanne Kendall.
Here.
Cherie Ling.
Here.
Bruce Galargen.
Here.
Lori Galargen.
Here.
Matt Foucault.
Here.
Mark DeLille.
Here. Our district commission, together we engage, educate, and empower all learners, bridging their passions to pathways to create successful futures and positively contribute to our local and global communities. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Bruce. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Roxanne. Any discussion? All right, then, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Public comment, I did not receive any, neither did Mark, so I believe we're good to go on to number 5, the world language trip proposal. We just made it.
Oh, I can't for my son's basketball game. He's speeding. Okay. Hi. I'm only going to talk for about 10 seconds, but just wanted to introduce. This is Jen. This is Jen. Sorry, this is Elizabeth. Hi. These are our 2 world language teachers at the high school, and they have put together some awesome information to kind of start the discussion at the board level regarding a proposed trip to Costa Rica. They started this planning pre-COVID-ish. COVID kind of halted all of the planning, and now we're kind of back to just having some discussions about what this might look like, trying to bring this opportunity to our students. Obviously, a trip like this would need to go through full board approval, so tonight is just to bring you some information. They are ready to rock. Told them to breathe, not to be nervous. All good. So here they are.
Awesome. Thanks, Shannon. I guess so.
Okay.
Like Shannon said, I'm Jennifer Roberts. This is my 4th school year teaching Spanish at Somerset.
I'm Elizabeth Granick, and it's my 2nd year teaching Spanish here.
And just want to start out by saying thanks for your time, allowing us to come and present this proposed trip to Costa Rica in 2023. So as you can see on this slide, there are many reasons to provide this opportunity for our students. Most notably is providing that equitable opportunity for them to be able to grow individually, to grow in their content knowledge, and apply it to real life, along with to connect with a global community.
The company that we would like to travel through is Explorica. They were founded in the year 2000, so they have more than 20 years of experience. They have 45 offices around the world. They are part of the World Strides organization. That organization helps over 400,000 students travel in over 100 countries each year. And Jen has been in contact with Mike Sassman for about 3 years now, who works for them, and he has been helping us along the way, answering any questions that we have, meeting with us to kind of get the ball rolling for this.
Some of the trip components are that we'd be going to Costa Rica. The dates would be June 12th through June 20th of 2023. The cost would be $2,503 per student, and that cost would provide them round-trip airfare, all transportation on the trip, the sightseeing tours, the site visits, all their hotels, with each hotel giving them a private bathroom. Their breakfast and dinner would be included daily, and then we'd also have a full-time multilingual tour director.
So this is the 9-day itinerary. I won't read everything to you, but a couple of the highlights. Day 1, we would arrive in San Jose. Day 2, we would visit Volcano National Park. Day 3, there are hanging bridges excursion and a hot springs visit. Day 4, there would be a local school visit. Day 5, a canopy zipline tour. And then on a couple of the days, day 6 and day 8, there's a couple optional excursions that as a group we can decide if we want to add those on or not do those.
Some other information, obviously we're still currently dealing with COVID-19. We will be monitoring that situation, and we will be prepared to make adjustments as needed. As far as numbers, for every 5 students, 1 chaperone is paid for. So since this would be our first trip, we'd probably want to keep the size to be about 15 to 20. Also kind of depends on the interest level with our students. For fundraising, we are very committed to having an equitable access for our students. Through Explorica, they create GoFundMe pages for them to use to fundraise, as well as we would look into and provide other opportunities for fundraising.
Then we have a promotional video to show you, just to kind of get an idea about what this trip would be like.
At the top of the volcano, wait for it to erupt.
It's really green here.
Would never think I'd see something like this.
Nothing like this?
Daniela is awesome. She's our tour guide. She's really cool. She knows a lot of information.
Nature is amazing. Try to listen and try to enjoy this forest because the cloud forest and it's not a common forest.
I learned a lot from Daniela. She knew a lot of different plant species and animal species and what they did.
There's no room to swim. It's a little snail. It's a real black snail.
Well, it was cool to think how 90% of, because I was talking with Daniela, and she told me that 90% of Costa Rica in the 50s and 60s was deforested, and it was kind of cool to see, like, well, this is how they are trying to help.
First, welcome to the program of reforestation that we have. I work for Santa Elena Reserve. Just 30 years ago, the whole property around here was a dairy farm. And then the idea right now is to make another geological corridor.
Helping the environment.
My favorite part was definitely going to the school and seeing what their life was like and getting to talk to them and saw a whole bunch of kids there and played with them and bought them gifts.
I brought stuff from my home and gave it to the kids, and to think they're gonna use that every day kind of makes me happy. So humbling to visit the school. By far, love the hot springs. That's the best part. Super fun.
The zip lines can smell fear, so try not to be afraid. Where to meet up.
Ziplining was really fun. I was really nervous at first though, but they eased you into it and it was awesome being that far above everything. It kind of was like flying. I think it's more, being in Costa Rica is more hands-on and you see everything that you read about. It's cool to actually see it in person.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime trip. You see a lot, you do a lot. Just to experience the culture, the food, how people live. You get to see it all.
Alright, so what questions do you all have at this point?
Would it be open to what grade levels or ages at that point?
So just knowing kind of what would go into a trip like this, knowing we're going abroad, we talked about how students who had completed Spanish 2 or above would be eligible. And so we would be looking at the current freshman group, sophomores and juniors would be eligible to go if they continued studying Spanish.
And what's
So if they graduated that year, so the juniors that are current and graduating would be able to attend as well.
At least from our opinion,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
Because it'd be after graduation, right?
correct.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
time of year would you?
That'd be summer, because it would be in June.
End of June, was it?
June 12th through June 20th. Yeah.
What's the timeline to secure that for funding and stuff? How soon do you need a commitment?
You know, the sooner we do it, the better. But we still do have some time. No, we knew we'd be going through this process of getting approved. And so starting at the end of this coming school year, so the end of 2022, June-ish, is when we would hopefully be starting, just so that we also give families time to make the decision, figure out the funding, and if they needed to, they can do a payment plan to kind of help with that cost.
Students could get jobs if they need to pay for their own portion of it or that type of thing too.
Do you need a minimum number to go?
Oh,
I
would
think
assume at
so.
least 5. We probably could go with less, but I assume you wouldn't want just one student.
What's the interest level like out there with the kids?
The kids are really excited about it. They keep asking like when we're gonna move forward with this process, and we told them, you know, we have to talk to the school board first, but they're really excited about it.
Yeah, so for instance, I have 25 juniors currently, or 25 students in Spanish 3, 20 of them are juniors. And so we, the previous Spanish teacher and I kind of started this ball rolling 3 years ago, and then COVID hit. So they've been hearing it now since they were freshmen. And so I would at least think we'd get 10 to 15, if not more. Especially as like, we haven't said too much about it, obviously, because we have to go through the approval process. You don't want to like get their hopes up and then be like, oh, actually, it won't be for another year or two. But
Yeah, we've heard a lot of
Pretty decent
excitement,
amount.
yeah.
What will you do if you have too many people sign up?
Yeah, so we talked about that with either somewhat of an application process, thinking with our upperclassmen, they would have less of an opportunity, whereas the underclassmen, potentially we could go again in 2 years after the first trip or 3, so they would kind of have a second opportunity to go, is kind of what we were thinking about.
Yeah. If we could do it every 2 or 3 years, the kids that will be sophomores could potentially have a chance to do it when they're seniors.
And I think it's important to point out that you mentioned that this company is a World Strides company, which is, we have a great partnership with them with the Spanish program, or excuse me, the Washington DC program for, in the middle school. And I personally had a very good experience with them when COVID hit and I had to cancel and everything. So I think it's important that we know that it's a World Strides organization, because they are top notch.
Yeah, Mike, this whole time he has been very open about that and saying, you know, here are the dates, you know, if something happens, there is the insurance, or they just have within their program now that they'll work with it, because you just can't control those things.
I think it sounds like a great opportunity. Will you both go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, yeah.
Okay.
She had the opportunity to go when she was in high school, I did not, and so I was always really bent on making sure it was an opportunity for high schoolers. I was lucky enough to then go in college and after college, but I think, I mean, the sooner you start going, the more they love doing it, and hopefully we'll do it more, so.
What is the medical provision? Obviously, you're overseas, you're in potentially malaria areas, all those activities, big injuries, what are the...
Usually there's like a travel medical insurance that the students would get, or through their own what health insurance they already currently have, but then they do provide another option as well.
Travel medical insurance, my understanding is we'll give you the flight back home, but what about on-site?
That's something that we'll have to double check with Mike about. And that would obviously be something that would be provided before the students signed up and before we went, because you'd never know what can happen.
And then the $2,500 is, you know, it's a lot of money, and it could be very cost prohibitive to a lot of families.
It seems like it's in line with what Washington DC is, even for more time, actually, because Washington DC is only about 4 or 5 days, I believe. So, are there opportunities for maybe scholarships or something, like from the community, or is this something we could think about? Maybe if there was a financial need that, so that all kids have a chance to go if they really want to go?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to provide scholarships, make connections with the community to provide that for students. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. That looks great.
What's the process needed to move it forward for approval?
I believe at the next regular session. we
Put on the
can-
agenda.
You said you didn't need a decision until,
The sooner we have the decision, that way we can get back to Mike. We can get back to you with a more specific date that we would need the approval by. He's been pushing me for 3 years, so he's like, let's go. But if we could get a decision before the holiday break for school, that way we can get more information rolling. When they come back, we can set up a parent meeting, set up student meeting to get the ball rolling. And again, the more time we give families to decide and make plans for how, if they can afford it, for us to plan those fundraisers and potentially get scholarships going, the more time the better.
do you have a date that the kids and families would need to decide by?
Yeah, once we have that approval and we have our date locked down, we would have a specific date that they would have to join.
But you don't know what that is right now?
No, not right now,
Mike would
yeah.
give us more of that information. I think if we get approval, then we can talk to Mike and he can give us more of that information.
Because it's dependent on approval from us.
Yeah.
For you to really proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a cost up there, what is built in to protect it from going significantly higher?
Yeah, so that's the number that he gave us, and as soon as we tell him, hey, we're doing this, but if we wait much longer, or like if we wait, months and months and months, there is the potential for it to go up.
So you could lock in, and even if airfare rises and other things, you don't have to pay more.
Correct. Yep, you lock that number in.
So would the board like to have this brought back at our regular session?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Okay, we will bring it back for approval at our regular session. Is that November 22nd?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is substitute pay rate.
So, item 6, we've been talking about this for a while. We haven't adjusted our sub rate for quite a while, and the information I sent out on Sunday, I had 145, and that's because I couldn't open up my document to find out what actually was. I knew it was 140 or 145, but we're looking at going from 120 to 140, halftime 60 to 70, and then other adjustments to the support staff pay rates. Districts around us, like, again, this is 140 is right between Osceola and New Richmond. And, we can't touch Hudson. They're at 200 a day and giving bonuses for Mondays and Fridays. So we figure if we can get in between Osceola and Hudson at 140, it'll help. However, right now, I think my gut's telling me that if we paid 250, the subs aren't out there. But we have to be competitive. The last couple of years, with the situation the way it was, I believe the way Dave has budgeted, and the lack of subs, we've been using internal people and that, so we haven't used all the budgeted money for subs. So I don't see this having a big impact, but hopefully it may entice, some people to come over here from some of the other districts and sub for us. So that's what we're recommending.
I have a friend who teaches in a neighboring school district, and she said that they had people reach out to retirees and make a personal request asking them to come in and sub and that she said it helped a lot. Have we done anything like that?
I don't think we've reached out to, from our office. I gotta believe that, you know, some of the people that are looking for subs and taking off, they're reaching out to people to see if they'll come in, but we can sure do that. And, we put, I think from that push we put out to the community, I think we got one person, but it's one person we didn't have,
Right.
you know, before, so we're gonna keep on trying. You know, right now with, you know, it's getting a little dicey around in the area with the numbers going up. People are reluctant to come in
Right,
to the
yeah.
schools right now. And I was on the phone, well, I'll talk about that during the health piece. Don't get too far off of that, so.
The other question I had about that was, I remember we talked about this earlier in the year. It might have even been back in June or whenever it was, when we were talking about, do we keep 3 full-time subs or not? And I thought you told us then that we were right in in line with neighboring districts and right between, I thought it was in Richmond and Osceola, it might have been someone else.
People have been raising their rates as they go.
They have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, our rationale is let's try and be in between Osceola and New Richmond for right now and see where it takes us.
All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
So you're looking for an
I have a
approval?
question, sorry.
Yep, go ahead, Lacey.
Mark, when there's been a lot of talk about teachers and other staff stepping into sub during their lunches, during their preps. Are they getting compensated for that time because we're not paying for subs? So is that sub time then going to help out the stress that our staff is putting on themselves?
Well, that's a very good question. That's been a topic at our last couple of admin meetings. And I've asked Dave to do a little work on this because I would love to set that rate. You know, right now it's a pittance what they get to go in and cover. Because, you know, they have so much work to do. They're gonna have to do it after school or what have you if they give up their time. And they've been fantastic covering for everyone. I mean, that's been great. But I would love to have it at a rate where, hey, we have an opening, people are jumping over each other to take it because it's worthwhile to pass up your prep time and do your work after school and that. So to answer your question, we're working on that, what that would look like.
Okay, so I think that would be really valuable, like just hearing a
Yep.
lot from staff and just across the country with our sub shortage, like teachers then in the building, not only, I mean, they're getting so run down with that I think, okay, there's not a whole lot of options and we're saying, yeah, we want people to come into sub, but we also don't want to discredit like highly qualified people there with our students as well. And then I even have seen in schools and experienced it, like I know last week in my daughter's class, they split up the class and she was in, you know, 5 went to 1, 5 went to 1, 5 went to 1, but even seeing that then they divvy up that pay so that teacher gets a portion of that sub pay because they're taking those extra students and going above what their regular job would be.
So again, you know, this kind of bleeds over that whole compensation piece. That I think is it's bigger than just, you know, it's got a lot of tentacles to it, and I think we really need to take a close look at, you know, how we compensate people so they're more willing to do that, and they feel good about doing that too. Because again, it's you know, it's a tough time right now, and I can't say enough for the staff for filling in, but it's wearing awful thin.
So back to the original, do they get paid anything for covering a class right now?
Well, they get paid, but
they do get paid something
Yep,
right
so
now.
so if a teacher is subbing on their prep or their lunch, I know this is true across the building, that they fill out a timesheet.
Yep.
And get something now. But to speak to what Mark was saying, we've had additional discussions of how do we continue to, I mean, these two could tell you, they're, every single day, they're asked to go someplace else and giving up their preps and lunches, so. Yes, they're currently getting something now, but kind of speaks to what he
By
said.
the time you get through the process, it doesn't amount to much.
No, I
So
here I do the same thing. It's like, do
Yeah,
I
I'd
fill
like
this
to have
paperwork
the-
out for?
I'd like to have that idea out there that, hey, we have an opening and you got 5 people jumping on it, I'll take it.
right
And-
now, did you want to say something
No,
else
no,
about
no.
that?
No.
Okay.
No, we'll talk.
Because right now, teachers at the middle school and high school level get that, but it's whatever the daily rate is divided by how many, hours in the day, and so when you divide it out,
I don't have the number, but
it doesn't.
doesn't amount to
yeah.
much.
And-
$25.
They're not doing it, let's just say they're not doing it for the money.
And, but I don't believe that teachers at the elementary school, like Lacey was saying, when they split up the kids and they put them in different classrooms, as far as I know, they are not receiving compensation.
And I think you're right, and that was part of our conversation, is how do we compensate them for that? So again, we're working on that.
Anybody else?
So Mark, are you looking for approval on this tonight?
On the sub-rate, if we can, so we can get it rolling right away. That's why I put it on.
Does anybody have any other comments, or otherwise I'll make a motion?
Can we amend it to, make a motion, but also, give you some sort of approval to beef up those coverages of classroom?
Not yet, not yet.
okay.
We'll talk a little
Okay,
bit
okay.
next item.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's $88. I'll just make a motion to approve the administrative recommendation for a daily rate of $140. Full day, a half day, $70, and then increase the support staff rates to regular ed rate of $12.80, is that it? $12.81 an hour, and special ed health office aid to $14.14 an hour.
All right, is there a second?
I have a second.
Thank you, Sheree. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries then.
Okay, moving into item 7, compensation model discussion. I think I put out a couple notes about this over the past couple of months, and Dave and Jody and I, have been talking about with everything that's been happening in the last couple of years with the different districts around us and what people are doing with compensation. The last time we had ours looked at was 4 years ago. And so much has happened in the last couple of years. Districts they're stealing our people because they have different models set up. I'll give you an example. Hudson classifies positions, what are the hardest ones to fill, and they have a different category for those, kind of like our specialty teacher. But it's broader than that, and I think I alluded to one of our teachers in high school here that if that person left, we'd be there. So how proactive are we on that? But we feel that we'd like to have Victoria come in and update the compensation, what's happening in the region, but also look at these other models that these incentives that people are laying out there for their staff to keep and retain and attract new talent. We've got some of our people recruited away by surrounding districts because of bonuses that they've been giving them. Not to say that's the beginning and end all, but so much has happened in the last couple of years. I think we need to refocus on how we're compensating people in the district here, or they're going to bleed our talent. So we're asking to go back to Victoria again, and it's not cheap. It's about a little under $10,000 to have her redo that study, but it has to be done externally. We can't do it internally just because of validity and what have you. So it worked. She did a great job for us last time, but that's the proposal we have out here.
I like that. I mean, I missed the one presentation that she gave, and I think the audio didn't even work on the one. And I think it's good just to hear what she does and how she comes to her numbers and what her solution is for everybody. I mean, I think it's good to do it every so often, just to hear how she got there and where her numbers, what they need and where they're at, so we all hear it, because I think there was some issues even when, you know, what we understood, I think even what I think now happened compared to what maybe actually was there. So I think it's a good idea, and instead of putting it on Dave and Jody or whoever, I think, yeah, for her to do it, I think it's a good idea. Support of it.
Okay, if you're, we don't have it on here for action, but I'll put it on the next agenda. And that way Dave can talk to her a little bit, and you know, at the next meeting, we can probably maybe have her give a little presentation before we enter into any kind of contract with her.
Yeah, and is there things that we could, or she could maybe present to us, you know, like you're saying, bonuses or compensation, different thing, I mean, that, so we could go and know kind of a path that she's going down?
Sure.
You know, I mean, because last time we ended up having 3 different.
Yeah, and that's why I said, you know, if we're looking at putting it on the next agenda, I'll talk to Dave, and he's our contact with her, to see if we can get just a snippet of what she will look at and what she'll bring back to the table for us. And, you know, compensation models are good unless, they're good, and you just, a lot of times in history, you can keep adding percentages and grow the model, but so much has happened in the last couple of years of how people are getting compensated that we need to look at it so we can protect our people. So, but I'll put that on the agenda for next, for the 22nd.
Are there any other comments?
I wasn't here when, I wasn't on the board when she did the first compensation model. And was the consensus that everybody was happy with her services? I'm just curious, like, the consensus of the board? I mean, it's just a lot of money, so I want to ask the question. I don't have any opinion, I wasn't here, so I just.
From our vantage point, she was very easy to work with.
Okay.
And
Are there other companies out there?
I'm sure we could find, I'm sure we could look and see. She knows us, she knows the area, who she would go to for comparables. But, you know, if that's something we want to look at, we can sure.
She's very analytical, it's all data driven. I mean, it's straight up numbers, there's no, I wasn't looking at people, from what I remember. I mean, it's just, these are the numbers, this is what someone with this makes in this many years, and I could bring us back to that. I think a lot of times we ask questions, from what I remember, it was, this is what the numbers say, you know.
I think the reason we went with Victoria McGrath in the first place was because St. Croix County had used her, so there was some familiarity with her. But I have no idea how many other people there are out there who do this kind of work. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I can talk to Dave and see, because I can't remember the process we went down, because we found her because of St. Croix County.
Right.
You know, and they had good luck with her and were able to work with her. So I can poke my nose around to see who's out there.
We don't need to cause a bunch of extra work. I just
Yeah,
kind of wanted a general idea. You don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but, okay, I'm sorry to bring it up again, but the whole gap model exists after that analysis. So I'm just wondering, did she miss a big group of people when she did the analysis, or how did that, I'm sorry, but how did that come up?
That's totally separate from what the work she did.
Okay.
Totally separate from what she did. That was after. That was after
She said it was up to the board to make decisions on how we wanted to address it.
Yeah. She gave us the basic, gave us 3 different proposals or 3 different schedules, and the board chose one that most emulated the former Stephen Lane
and that we could afford.
Schedule, and then.
And that we could afford.
Yeah.
Once that was done, then we went back and looked at what we call the gap model.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I don't think it hurts though to do a little investigating about who else is out there. I mean, when you go to buy a car, you don't buy the first one you see usually. I don't know.
I don't know anything about a car lately. There's not too many out there.
Whatever.
I know, I'm just kidding. So I'll
I mean, I'm
take a
not
look
saying-
around. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
So you don't want action tonight, this will come next
Nope,
meeting?
this will come back on
Okay.
22nd. Okay, district health. Ryan, can you pull that up there? Okay. So why don't you get that first slide up there? I'm just gonna go through this real quick. Ryan just gave me this at the end of today. And on this slide right here, the two things that I'm looking at, you know, this all plays into what happened last week with the numbers escalating and that. If you look at the positive cases in the district, right now we have 36. We got 27 kids and 9 staff as of, I think, 3 o'clock today. Close contacts excluded right now are 46. But this doesn't include the kids that are symptomatic and not feeling well. I mean, we have a lot of kids out with that and staff. You know, last week we got hit in the support staff ranks with this flu thing that was going on. People are testing and they're testing negative. You know, it hit us in a couple different areas. The next slide is just we can skip that one too, that's just the pie chart there. And I'll send you this so you can take a look at it, do a little analyzing there. If you look at this next one, the elementary school is in that purple right in the center, and this goes day by day. And you kind of see last week, you know, you can see where the numbers were. If you start like on the 31st, we had 0, then 1, 3, 3, and that's on that Thursday, on the 8th, we got hit with 8 kids there. 8 positive kids. We were gonna send 6 classrooms home. And that's when we thought, okay, what's going on here? You know, Ryan did a really good job of tracking this. And in the past, in I think September, we had some high numbers in one of the first grade classrooms. We had a couple positives, but then we had about 5, 6 kids out as that were symptomatic, close contact. And we decided, you know, we couldn't find any patterns to this. It was external. It was, you know, mom and dad outside or something like that. And so we shut the classroom down. I think we did it twice, to that classroom in the 3rd grade. And then they came back and everything was fine. Everything was good. This last rash, though, it's internal, and it just kept feeding. And we had 6 more over the weekend come in. And if you look at the next slide, and you get down to the week, the 1st through the 7th, and you look at the district total, well, if you look over at the elementary, take a look at that. You know, we went from 3, 3, 5, 1, 19. And then you slide over district total for the week 31. I mean, that's, and again, it was internal. We were perpetuating the spread of it. And that's why we made the decision, you know, to shut down the elementary, because that was where the worst of it was. I met Friday morning. You know, again, this was happening Thursday. We had to get, you know, we wanted to watch the rest of the day Thursday what was happening. I think we had a couple more cases, so we decided let's get the elementary staff together, see how they feel. You know, how safe do you feel? How comfortable do you feel? You know, the stress level doing dual platform was too much. And so we decided that, okay, 10 days, we're gonna go distance learning, we're gonna deep clean the building. If you go in there today or tomorrow, you better wear a mask because it smells like ammonia. I mean, it's just, I never smelled it clean. Even when we were cleaning before, it never smelled like this. So they're doing a heck of a job on scrubbing that place down. You know, one of the concerns we have is that now we're moving into the time of the year, you know, you got the cold and flu season, you've got the time between Thanksgiving and Christmas that we really went downhill, especially in the high school. I mean, we were this close, we were limping along those last couple days to get into the holiday break. I mean, you can remember what you had to deal with over there. And so we got into the holiday break, and then we came back, we're good. And that's part of this proposal here, and when I talk about district health. So the elementary will come back next Wednesday. They'll be in school Thursday, Friday, and Monday and Tuesday. That building will be fine. They'll get another break for it to air out over Thanksgiving break.
They come back Tuesday or Wednesday?
Monday. They're coming back, when do they come?
Tuesday.
Are they come back Tuesday? Okay. Tuesday. Okay, come back Tuesday, so they'll be in school, that's it. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, no school Friday. And then they'll come back Monday and Tuesday. What I'm proposing is with the high school, learning what we did last year, we're gonna go distance on Monday and Tuesday, deep clean the high school, give them that break over Thanksgiving, and then when they come back, hopefully we have a good run there to get them up to Christmas. So that's the rationale behind this proposal here, as far as with the high school. And that's what we're asking for, is to do that.
So there's no consideration to masking at all?
Not at this time. I was on the phone today with, Osceola called me, asked me what we're doing. New Richmond called, and I had a good talk with Patrick over there, and his numbers are escalating. River Falls is like 2 or 3 times what New Richmond's cases are, and they've been fully masked. And so, again, what do you do? So, as I said in my note, we're gonna revisit our protocols Wednesday when we have our admin meeting, and we'll take a look at it and see where it comes down to. A lot of it will depend on staff too. I'm very concerned, but, I really wanna make sure the staff feels comfortable and safe in the environment. So, what they say will weigh into our decision.
So what are the protocol when the kids come back then?
Well, that's what we're gonna talk about on Wednesday, but typically, I shouldn't say typically, well, what we talked about is maybe we should be moving back to some of the protocols we had last year with the cleaning stations, with the lines, the distancing, things like that. So that's what we're gonna talk about.
The district's safe return to school plan that you and Ryan presented in September, I believe, it stated that students who were symptomatic would not be, they'd have to go home. And there was a list of symptoms, and 3 of them had an asterisk, and 1 of them was coughing. And on the plan, it said that if they were exhibiting 1 of the symptoms with an asterisk, or 2 of the symptoms that did not have an asterisk, they would be asked, parents would be called. Is that happening?
I need Ryan here for that.
I would say as a parent, yes, it has. We've gotten a handful of phone calls and a handful of emails from Ryan and from the staff in the buildings. Yep, just expressing either symptoms that maybe have been seen or just the close contacts. I think that the staff has done a good job of communicating that stuff.
So if they are communicating to you about symptoms, are they asking you to come and get your child?
No. No.
Yeah, that I don't know. I'd have to have Ryan here. He's on this thing morning, noon, and night. I just don't know exactly, when he's making that call and what he's telling them.
Okay, because our safe return to school plan said that would happen then.
Yeah, and again, I don't have that in front of me, so.
I don't have either, but isn't it out of the ordinary? I mean, because I'm just saying all fall. And my kid has allergies all fall. He coughs and has a runny nose. And
I agree. I'm in the same boat.
I mean, and
kids
I
have
thought that
allergies.
was always the thing, is, they have allergies or they have something else.
And this communication's always been, whether they've seen it and we communicate with the staff and, yep, there's allergies, there's, whatever the case may be at the time. And kids have stayed home, we've picked them up, but not every time, just because they cough, they've been asked to be picked up.
Yeah, and I will say, and Ryan and I have talked about this quite a bit, before the school year and during that, he's taking on an individual basis and, trying to take some of these things into consideration. And that, and I haven't heard anything from the outside to tell me that, we haven't been following a protocol, so to speak, that people can buy into here. Because, again, what weighed into our plan was staff input, what parents' wishes were, and just what we're seeing from the CDC, from DHS, and from St. Croix County too. You know, what's kind of misleading is they keep saying that our Wisconsin numbers are going down. St. Croix County is not in good shape.
No.
You know, they're not. So, again, I think, you know, again, this thing's changing constantly, and I know our next superintendent meeting here will be talking, because St. Croix Central and Baldwin have gone through some really, you know, what we're going through right now. So it's,
What's your feedback from teachers and staff and admin and everybody? Are you feeling safe in the schools, or what's the feedback then?
well, I'll tell you personally, as a vaccinated person, I feel perfectly safe. But not everyone is, and it's their choice. You know, last week when things were escalating at the elementary school, there quite a few staff had masks on. I would say maybe 20%, 25% had them on. So there's concern. So again, we're gonna meet Wednesday. What we'll probably end up doing is surveying the staff, just, okay, how do you feel right now? Because, you know, the middle school and high school's feeling it too, but not to the weight of the elementary. And again, if we can't have happy campers, our counselors don't feel good. And so we gotta make sure that we're taking care of our people. That'll weigh a lot in what we do.
A lot of this also seems to have to do with our staff being in the same situation that they were in last year, where they're trying to teach full-time in person, but they have so many students who are out sick, and it might not be COVID, it might be something else, but they have so many who are out sick, and parents are being extra cautious, I hope, that they're in the same situation they were last year. They're trying to teach in person, and they're also keeping up with virtual learning for all the kids who are gone. And I understand that so far DPI has not come out with any waivers about instructional minutes.
No, they haven't, but I talked to Jerry Walters the other day, and he had a meeting with DPI today, and he was gonna ask them as far as what's the direction, and he hasn't gotten back to me today yet, but I'll get on him tomorrow. So he doesn't know of any, push from our area, from our CISA yet, but a lot of times this stuff comes out of Madison, Milwaukee, and
so I'm wondering if even if DPI hasn't initiated it, if perhaps, I mean, there's 31 schools in our CISA. If all the superintendents in our CISA district were contacting DPI and asking about it, what kind of an impact would that have? If our staff had more time to do the work they need to do, especially when they're giving up all their preps to help cover, I think we did that last year and it helped a lot. We had so many comments.
we did the every other Monday.
So I encourage you to.
Yeah, I have gone, and we'll see. I would love to see a variance. It would help us, because I don't want to change the calendar.
No.
I don't want to lengthen out. Don't want to take away days that are in there, because right now the staff needs every day they can get to just collect themselves. So we'll just keep pushing on that. And today was, for me, it was the first step with Jerry to see what can you find out, who can I talk to, in that. So,
Because all 31 of you get together, is that once a month?
Yeah. And so I'm sure Jerry will have it on there, because it's just been loosely talked about, but there hasn't, a lot of times, Madison, Milwaukee drive the train, most of the time politically. So, again, I'll never give up the fight, but, a lot of times, we're 4 hours away, they don't hear us, it's a long way down there. So, we'll see what we can do, because I would sure go after a variance and build in some, like we did last year, possibly, we did it every other Monday, and that really helped people, do their thing. And if we let parents know that ahead of time, and that, something like what we went through there on Thursday, it just blew up on us, and so we were grateful that we had a weekend, so people could make arrangements and plans, because we have a lot of staff too that have kids and have to make arrangements. But on the other hand, we got a business to run too. We got to educate these kids. They depend on us, families depend on us. So again, I'll save that speech for another time. Back to the original, what we're talking about here. We want to look at doing that with the high school on the 22nd and 23rd, as far as going distance with them and then deep cleaning the building.
It would be all 3 buildings or 2?
Just the 2, middle school and high school.
Middle school as well. There's
Middle school and high school, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the distance learning plan for those 2 buildings? What is the platform that they use?
Google Classroom.
Google Classroom,
That's what everyone's using?
yes. Exclusively 100% every day, kids are in Google Classroom.
And they are so used to it from last year.
Yeah.
Jackson was on Seesaw today. I know Johnny was doing his virtual stuff today. And it's easier maybe, I think, at the middle school and high school.
Mhm.
Yeah, obviously as they get a little older, it's a little bit easier.
Unless you're this old. So again, I don't know if we need any action on that, but that's just the game plan.
Well, yeah, let's, is there any further discussion?
Well, yeah, I guess, so when we come back, elementary comes back next Tuesday, what's the timeline to watch numbers? And I think it's important that, the more discussion that even what we just had here about, this isn't just purely COVID numbers. I think we look at the graph, you see, well, the COVID numbers aren't that high, but when you look at the reality of how many kids are out due to other sicknesses, and the toll it's taking, any of that communication that you can have with the community, I think is really important. Because a lot of people get focused in on just the number, and they don't think about the staff, they don't think about other kids. So when the elementary comes back, how are you gonna watch those numbers? What's the plan with the elementary school then? I know you're gonna talk about it on Wednesday, but.
Well, basically it'll be the same as what, Ryan is just on top of this every day.
Just restart.
Every day, hopefully, by then, we should have everyone back, unless there's perpetuating cases outside, family type things that, but he's keeping track of those now too, when the county lets us know that, okay, you've got 2 cases in this family, but 2-3 days down, or the 3rd one got it, or 4th one got it. So again, we're hoping for a fresh restart when they come back, and again, Ryan's on this all the time. I mean, that's
So
that's what he does.
Okay, the graph that was up there, like the 19, those are positive cases reported that day? How long does that number stay on the graph for?
That 19 is that week.
Okay, that's the week, okay, so on a daily, those are new?
Yeah, and that's why there is a daily average or weekly average over here, and our averages are up because of this last week. But we do know every day,
You're looking at just new cases?
Right.
Right, and then they're dropping off, what, a week, 10
But
days
we'll
after?
track, we're still tracking the other absences and that. We can find what those are. But I think we figured that we had over 100 kids out the elementary because of other illness, close contact, symptomatic. So it's not just those COVID positive cases don't tell the whole story. And plus we have staff out.
Because they could be symptomatic and not have had a.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you, and then my last question, are you seeing more parents keeping kids home, maybe as a precautionary than you have in the past? They're better about it?
Yeah, I think parents have been great about doing what we've been asking them to do. If you have kids that are sick and not feeling well, and at the high school level, we have kids that can kind of advocate for that for themselves, obviously, as well. But definitely trying to work together of, my kid isn't feeling well today, won't be in, great, hopefully we see him tomorrow, let us know. Much more than we ever have in the past, which is a good thing.
But they also have access to,
Mhm.
they're still keeping up. Yeah, so we'll make a motion on that.
Would someone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'm sorry, can I ask just a quick, couple of quick questions?
Yeah.
Sorry. Can you, okay?
Yeah.
So I would just wanna go back to the revisit protocols, because I feel like some of the emails that I've gotten, just listening to teachers, community, just making sure that after that meeting on Wednesday, that those protocols I think are really clear, because that's just, I think, where, kind of what you're saying too, Matt, making sure that we're being really forthcoming with, hey, here's what's expected, and here's what we're doing in the schools to help, because I think that that's just where some of the confusion is, well, what is the protocol for this? Or when are we gonna send a class home? Or now that we've reached this time, like, are we gonna put in that social distancing? And I just wanna make sure that we are keeping that in mind, so families are feeling safe, our kids are feeling safe as these numbers are going up. And then the other question that I had is, we're saying that there's a lot more kids with some of those symptoms. Are they required to get a negative COVID test before returning back to school?
We're suggesting, but
Okay.
we're not requiring.
Right.
Okay.
I don't have symptoms, right?
My main thing, I really want to make sure that we're being consistent and transparent with that communication and pieces out to our teachers, our families, and people that are affected by this. Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions and things that are going on, and just, hey, do we do this, do we not? And whatever it may be, just being very clear in those pieces.
Lacey, you use an interesting word there, consistent. This disease is anything but consistent. It's so subjective to what we do.
Yeah, and I'm living that right now. I mean, I get that piece that it's different, but I just want to make sure that, okay, we're saying, here are our numbers in the elementary, we're shutting down. So if that happens, then in the middle school, are we shutting down? Or we're making sure if teachers are experiencing something on one end, that we're doing the same thing with a similar situation when it comes forward. It's hard. I mean, I think a lot of these cases, we have a lot of cases that kids are testing positive and they don't even have symptoms, but then we have kids that are out severely sick that are testing negative. I mean, I totally see that inconsistency. I just want to make sure that we're being clear, so when parents are asking, why did we shut down, or why we're upset we're home, or we're upset we're not, I think there's very different sides to all of this. I've heard of parents that are really upset that their kids are home right now, but I've heard of parents very thankful that we're taking this time to clean and be safe and keep our kids safe. So just making sure, I think, that we're communicating that. Like, I know even right now with our staff, and there's staff out and we can't keep some of those subs and having the bodies there, making sure we're being transparent with that.
And again, we're gonna recover all this on Wednesday internally, and just to, so you understand, we're making the best decisions we can with the information we have on a day-to-day basis, and that's all we can do. And
That's so circumstantial, if you had those exact same numbers at the high school, you might not find yourself in that situation, it depends.
it does, I hate to use that word, it depends, but it does depend on it's situational.
And it makes it more difficult for everybody. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Please.
Make a motion to accept the administration's request to go to distance learning on November 22nd, 23rd, in the middle and high school.
All right, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Roxanne. So motion by Matt, second by Roxanne. Any further discussion? Lacey, you're good?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item, district office update.
I'm doing a lot of talking.
You are.
Okay, so district office, so we lost
Thank
3 of
you.
our 6 support staff within the last couple of months there. Monica retired, Jackie went on to down to Prescott, now Tasia is leaving, and Jody is on the edge right now because she's trying to manage and make sure everything is covered in the office, which is becoming quite a chore. And so part of this is to let you know that we have to back off on a few things for a little bit until we get reorganized here. Once we get Tasia's replacement in, I'm going to suggest that we look at some other process with policies for a month or two to, because we won't have anybody on in her place for probably another month. We're hoping to interview next week. And then with everything that goes along with that, with giving notices and what have you, if we find the right person, hopefully the middle of December, we'll be able to get someone on here. But, Jackie's replacement, did she start today?
Nope, she's on today's agenda.
22nd.
22nd, okay. So, so Jody's trying to cover these different things, and so things like, our retro pay, we're gonna have to back off for about a month. No one's gonna lose any money, but it's not gonna happen probably till the middle or the end of December now, because they just cannot get to it, and the work is backing up. And so what we're asking here is we're trying to find somebody to come in part-time to do phones, do some, we got tons of work in that back room that need to be done, but we can't let the snowball get too big, and it's starting to already. And so what we're asking for is to bring someone in for 4 to 6 weeks to help catch up with things, and we don't have anybody in mind, but everyone's out searching for someone that'll come in and give us a month or 6 weeks to just help us. And if we could find 2 people to do it, great. But the rate would be at I think the memo said 1716, or what was it?
1761.
Okay. That would be the hourly rate that we would be paying for whoever we can get in here. And again, it's a short-term deal until we get our office fully functional. I've talked to the staff at the elementary when I had them the other day. I said, just be patient with us, because Jody is up to here, and then she's doing everything she can. And everyone else, I shouldn't say just Jody, but all the other people in the office are taking on other duties right now in the meantime to try and make this a smooth transition, so we don't drop some of the most important balls we have out there.
So it's a part-time employee?
Yeah.
But full-time hours during the week, just to get caught up?
Whatever we can get.
Whatever
we can get. We know of some people that would come in half a day here or there or whatever. So, however we can mix this up to get us through this.
Is that your normal
Excuse
wage
me.
then, when you hire?
Excuse me, I'm
Oh.
sorry, I just wanted to let you know that this is a public meeting of the board, but it's not a public meeting.
Okay,
So that's
thank you.
why we have the public comment portion at the beginning.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
public people don't ask questions or whatever?
Not right now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Get after the meeting, I'll talk. But this, Jody came up with this rate. We've never done this before, so it's new.
So I understand the difficulty, but our support staff and our professional staff have been, covering and filling in for each other all this school year. And I'm just wondering if it's possible that we could ask our district office staff to do the same thing that the staff in our other buildings are doing for this short time,
As far as
covering with.
they are, but we have 3, Lisa came here new this year. She's still trying to learn her job. We've got a new person coming in for accounts payable that has never been here before, and she's not coming in for another week or so. And then we're gonna replace Tasia there. So I mean, we're down half of our staff here, and with what needs to be done to keep things rolling here, there's some things that are just, they gotta come back on the back burner. And these people are all picking up extra duties. They are.
What's it gonna cost?
Well, that's the hourly rate, and again, until we know who we have, when they'll work, I can't give you an answer on that.
'Cause
You
we're-
can run the numbers out, say full-time for 6 weeks, you can figure it out. But we may not get anybody full-time, we may only get half-time.
$4,000 for 6 weeks.
Is that?
I'm guessing it's just a temp, we're only paying them $17.61, there's no.
benefits.
Right, no,
Nothing
that's
else
just,
on top of it.
yeah.
And you'll be down to 1 full-time employee at the same time? We're down 2.
Well, we've got,
You're down to 1 now.
We're down 2, well, we're down 1. Tasia will be here for another what, a week and a half? Your 22nd is your last day.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be hitting this period,
Right.
time where, you know, where we're down.
So any extra expense really is not extra because you're gonna be down anyways.
And so, right, we're not gonna be paying the, so it's, yeah, it's a wash. But right now Jody's over here in accounts payable most of the time, because we gotta keep the ball rolling here. So Dave and her, and the office people have prioritized everything that needs to be done. There's just some things that we just gotta put on the back burner, you know, for a bit until we can get caught up. And that's why, you know, if we could find one or two people that could help take care of phones and different things that, you know, Jody can get to the work that she's supposed to be doing, you know, which, you know, so much of that is Jody and Rod with the, you know, the retro pay and, you know, compensation. But again, we don't have the time right now. So.
Can I add something, Mark, just for point of clarity? So some of it is also so that someone can be manning the office with visitors, phones, and just the general day-to-day stuff, so that we can cross-train for when those vacancies happen, or, you know, I mean, Jody's taking over AP right now, but some of the additional duties with open enrollment and those sorts of things, Lisa is still learning, and then also for the people who are going to be covering in the interim for some of my big duties, so that we can do that without the interruption at the front of the office too.
Are there a lot of visitors here during the day, or phone calls, or?
It's busy.
I'm constantly interrupted.
Okay. So this is for possible action this evening. Is there anyone who cares to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of temporary substitute help in the district office at the rate of $17.61 an hour.
I will second.
Thank you, Sheree.
Can I just,
Yeah, we're.
at this point, can I just have a
discussion.
clarification? Your motion, is that for both, because one or two people? Just, you had mentioned you might need two people.
Well, it might be a combination. If we get a couple people that they could each work 4 hours, or, you know, what have you, you know, my big thing is that, you know, to figure out everything that needs to be done and how they can help us keep on track. You know, and I'm estimating this is gonna be a 4 to 6 week deal.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that, because
One position, but it might take two people to do
Exactly.
it.
40 hours a week.
Up to.
Do you want me to make that again, or?
I don't know if that's necessary, I just wanted to be sure that that was clear, that you could proceed with
Yeah,
that.
if we just keep it at 40 hours a week,
Okay.
it might be 2 people.
And will this position be posted? Because we have subs in our district. Is this going to be posted for people to apply, or how is this gonna work?
The plan is to short post it, you know, and get someone in here as soon as we can.
Okay, so it'll be posted tomorrow? And do you have something in mind for how long?
No. No, I have to talk with Dave and Jody to get a definite number on it.
Anybody else have any questions? Lacey, do you have any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
All right.
I'll just say, we're gonna miss you, Tasia, you're amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But best wishes to you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
All in favor then?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, number 10, site master planning. I just need to know a little bit of what you're thinking on master planning, because depending on what the conversation is, it can take 2 paths, and they're both different paths. If the thought is, like I said in my note, are we thinking about finishing off the campus and running a referendum soon? If not, you know, the whole thing can slow down and take, you know, you can take another year to work through a master plan of the complex. But I think, you know, in my mind, it'll be, the makeup of the committees would be different.
what does finishing out the campus mean to you?
Well, so when we ran the last referendum, there was actually a second half to it. It was, we kind of had the needs, what has to happen, and then we had the upgrading of the activities spaces. Redo the stadium, I think we had adding a gym, an auditorium, or I should say a performing arts wing. I can't think, can you think of anything else we had on there?
Part of the athletic complex was redoing the track.
Right, that's what, and that's, yeah, it was a track, the whole concept of, if you put an auditorium on here, you chew up all this space here, you put turf on the field, play all your soccer and football games up there, you transition this into parking, there's just a lot of things to talk about. So the original, I think, referendum was slated, it was either 46 or 48 million. And I think, so the part we went with, because we just didn't feel we had all the support for the extra pieces, was 28, I think it was 28.6 that we passed. So you're roughly looking at $20-25 million project to finish off the campus, so to speak, and have everything updated. You got your buildings updated now. Now the activity spaces and those areas need some work on.
Does that any classroom size into the buildings, or do you feel good where you're at for?
Well, our classroom space right now, we're okay, but you pop another 200 kids in this district, you're gonna have trouble. And then the decision, that's what the committee, if you're not looking at doing that work, but you're looking just at demographics and population, you're probably going to be looking at, can we add on to these buildings, which then you have to deal with infrastructure also, which buildings can be added on to, like the high school, you can add out towards that eye over there, but if you put an auditorium on there, you'd be blowing out the center of the building where the MPR is, and you'd be able to increase your food service and your ancillary spaces there. So the high school would be okay, but middle school, you can't put anything else on that site. Elementary, that's a big elementary. You got room to add on, but that's a big elementary. So do we go to another building? If you go into another building, you're looking at 30-40 million. So again, you can see how this thing takes different paths, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are as far as, do we want to go after the other half of that referendum soon, or do you want to put this on a 3 to 5 year path?
Going forward with it soon, what is that timeline? To redo the stadium, is that 3 years out still?
No, I mean, you could go, so the way the cycle works with referendums, you can go next fall. Next fall.
Start construction.
Because, some years you can only run in the spring, some years you can run spring and fall, but you can only run 2 questions a year, no matter how you do it. But I think next year is the one where you could run an election in the fall. And if that was the decision to do that, and do that with, just the activity spaces on that, you have to get going on it right now. And that'd be a whole different scope as far as the process for the committee and, putting every, nuts and bolts together. A lot of that work has been done in our last referendum work, but it would just need updating for that. But then, so you do that, let's just say, you do the activity spaces, you run, you pass it, you fix this up, you look at what's happening around here, that's gonna be 5 years before we really see some significant influx of kids coming in. Then you look at, another building.
That's my thought, is if you wait, that's coming, that influx of kids, and then we have to deal with that, which pushes everything back. So my opinion would be we move forward with finishing the campus off. I think those services are lacking. I mean, I've attended plays here. I think those kids that want to participate in that kind of stuff do not have the opportunities. To not have a track that's usable, in my opinion, is we move forward.
I would love that. I don't know how the public would feel about another referendum, but I am all for, especially the auditorium. They've been waiting for one forever. the track, I mean, if we were to have that up to snuff, maybe we could host more regional events or sectional
Oh, we
events.
could, but we can't the way it is right now.
Right, we
It's
can't
not
now,
big
but,
enough.
so there's this potential for revenue as well if we were to act on some of these things, so. I would love to see it, but I could see potential pushback, but.
That's the problem I had last time.
You know, you go through a process of testing the waters with, you know, a planning committee, some surveying out in the community. You know, one thing, and part of the surveying is educating people about this also, because when you look at right now it's not a bad time in the next year or so to go out, because property values are up, and all this is going to add more tax base in. So, you know, the dent in the pocketbook will be less. Again, those numbers all have to be run, but just strategically thinking, it, you know, it's a lot of work, but now's not a bad time to do it. But again, that's that process of getting the right people on the committee, communicating, getting community input on this. You know, we had a lot of support for that second half, but we couldn't risk it. You know, we needed to fix these buildings, and we needed that cash influx that came with it. The operational levy. I mean, we would have been dead in the water if we didn't have that. So, again.
And you can only ask 2 questions.
I don't think there's any harm in having a steering committee and having those conversations anytime, right? Or do you need more of an official
No,
direction?
I mean, if the direction of the board is, we would rather be concerned with fixing up our activity spaces than, you know, the 5 or 10 year growth piece. I mean, which to me are 2 different things. And I think, you know, just from my experience in referendums and with growth, that I think you've got 5 years to, you know, this isn't gonna fill up next year. You know, so they're projecting about 80 homes a year. Hopefully they're kid-friendly, but who knows? You know, if they are or not. So, you know, I think the safe bet is, you know, Matt said here, you know, finish off the campus. And then you've got a lot of options, because you've got all the land you need right up here, you know, for the future. And, you know, sometimes you need a little overcrowding and what have you to wake everybody up to say, you know what, there's your impetus for the next project and that. And again, a lot of districts run referendums, whether they're financial or construction, you know, every 4 or 5 years, because changing time. You know, we're lucky we're in a spot like this here. You know, we're gonna be growing. If you don't grow, then there's some problems.
And what did you say that would be on a ballot in the fall?
It would be, yeah, a year from now, if that's what you chose to do.
We did a lot of the work already for those questions, and I don't know, Laura, when you were walking or reviewing that with people, do you know what your feedback you were getting in the second portion?
Well, by the time we were
We were already
knocking
done.
on doors and doing the mailings, that decision had already been made.
Yeah, we had done the school perception survey, and they're the ones that told us that, you know, you just, you know, you'd be rolling the dice on the second question, that would take us down, the whole thing down. And we couldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did a lot of the research, it's all there. I think we go with that second half. I mean, we've lost, what, 100 kids in the last couple of years anyway, from what we have in the schools originally. I mean, so to get to that point,
probably 50.
and then above that, I mean, that would take quite a bit. So I'm good with.
And you know, you really can't draw too many connections between the last 2 years and enrollment, what have you, because people are homeschooling and they've done some different things over the last couple of years, so it's very unpredictable. So
So does that mean we have to, you know, pay for some services there through Old then again?
No, you know, so Vaughn and I have met a couple times, and he's getting me all the work we did last time, and we're gonna go through this and see what's relevant, what isn't. I think the big thing is now getting a committee together to have some discussions and see what, you know, what the feeling is out there, you know, about doing this. And having Dave engage in some preliminary numbers. And
Could Market and Johnson run us some stuff?
Oh, yeah.
On the numbers? I'm
Yeah.
sure they would jump all over it.
Yeah.
They should really get
Yeah,
some-
no, I'd access them, but again, I just wanted to find out what the feeling here as far as direction, if this was something you wanted to do and look at, because again, you can see where I'm coming from, that there's two different lines of thinking as far as putting another building up, which I think with the numbers that could be coming in here, you might end up doing that down the road, 5 years or plus. But again, that may be someone else's trouble, a different board. So,
I did have feedback from people before that they wanted that, her activities, athletic areas, kind of, where's that portion? So I think we review it again, see what we can get added.
okay, that's, what you want to do, I'll go in that direction, and you know what, we can stop it at any time, so, okay.
So right now, we're not approving
Nope.
any funds.
No, nothing, and most of the work will, until we get into surveys and things like school perceptions, then there's gonna be something, but right now, as far as with Wold, and I'll talk to Market Johnson, I just haven't included them in any conversations yet. You know, that was a great team we had together, and I definitely enter in with them again, and, you know, when we have a relationship like that, you know, they're more willing just to, you know, take a chance and say, you know, if you get it.
Lacey, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I agree with Roxanne. I think moving forward, I'm just a little hesitant on what some of the feedback will be, but I also think that a lot of people are expecting this. I mean, I think it was pretty transparent when the first referendum, when it came out. I think a lot of people expected the auditorium to be on there, so I think people are anticipating this, and I think it would really benefit our district in general. So I think it's definitely something to pursue and move forward with.
Sherry, is there anything you wanted to add? Marge? Yeah, I totally agree with Roxanne and Lacey. I'm in favor of it, but I don't know if our community is ready for it. And I guess we'll find that out as we go through the process.
Yeah, well, that's what we use the process for, so. Number 11, you know, I mentioned this a while back, it may have been last spring or what have you, when we were talking about communication, what have you, is about structuring, you know, a board listening session, which could either be, you know, maybe a half an hour before each meeting, or maybe just one meeting where a couple board members come half hour, maybe an hour early, and just be available for anybody in the public to come and talk to that don't want to do open forum or anything like that. So I just thought I'd lay it out there, see if you're interested in doing that, or maybe it's something you want to talk about tomorrow night.
I'm interested in it. I'd be fine with it if we had some type of setup where it was, you know, rotating, where it was 2 or 3 people before every meeting. I think we could get at least 2 board members here.
Yeah, and then you'd report out at the meeting what you talked about.
Would we want to put it out to the public that it's an option and have them basically schedule a time for, so if somebody's not, we don't have 2 or 3 people sitting here for a half an hour doing nothing, you know, where they would basically say, yeah, I want to come in on this date, and then we have somebody
You
available?
know, I don't know how it would work scheduling of that, but just knowing that they could come here, and again, I'm going back to my Elk River days, we had this and it was very popular. People would just come in, and even teachers and what have you, anyone could come in and, you know, sit down with, you know, if you had a schedule that, you know, so once a month, you who did it next month, you guys did it next month, you know, it's pretty non-invasive, and, you know, half hour, 45 minutes before the meeting is usually all it takes.
I'll sign up for the 22nd.
Well, if, you know, again, if you want to do something like that, I'll set it up and I'll.
Well, if we just had a Google page or Tage 2.0.
I'll set it up.
Could come in.
That means when I say that, Tasia will set it up.
Yeah, I think we should start, I was supportive of it when we talked about it before, and I forgot about it, so I'm really glad you brought it up again. And I would like to start that right away.
Yeah. See you on the 22nd,
Okay.
5:30.
Lacey's not here, I think we should volunteer her.
And I won't
Hey,
be,
now I can still hear you.
I won't be out for COVID, so I'll
I would volunteer, I will do it.
Yeah, great idea.
Okay,
I'm good for it.
I'm done talking. Or do you want me to talk about?
No, you don't have to, am I the only one who got this magazine, Tasia, or did every student?
I've got it too.
It's the only one that came here.
Okay,
I got it.
I got it.
did you get it?
You
at
should all
home?
get them.
Okay, so the convention is in here. I asked for this to be added to the agenda because December 15th is the deadline for registration at a reduced rate. So if you haven't had a chance to look at this yet, if you would please. Mark and I went, I think the last time.
Probably 3 years ago.
Yeah. And then we had COVID, so we, last year, they still ran the convention, but it was virtual. So, and that was kind of nice because we all had the opportunity then to view the sessions. And they were up there for a whole year. But it'll be in person again.
Yeah, we're waiting right now to find, everyone's kind of on pause until they find out what the protocols are gonna be in Milwaukee.
But when we went 3 years ago, we left on a Tuesday morning and we were back Friday late afternoon, like 5 or 6.
We go Tuesday or Wednesday?
We went Tuesday because it starts at 8 o'clock Wednesday morning.
Oh, okay.
And there was a snowstorm too.
How many years have members attended it? Was that the first time?
No.
No, it's been an
For a
annual.
long time.
Annual, and I highly encourage it. Because you'll get to hear what's going on across the state, and it's, you know, it's more than just numbers, it's programs that people are running,
You pick your
situations.
session to attend?
What's that?
Pick your session to
Oh, yeah,
attend?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, it's, highly encourage it. And, you know, it's a great professional development piece for you.
And there's also, if you go to the WASB website, they've got a lot of information about it there as well. Did anybody have any questions or, oh, there you go.
What's the date, that the early registration?
December 15th is the cutoff for early registration.
Okay, yeah, and, yeah, if you're interested in going, we should get that, we probably should just reserve some rooms there anyway, we can always cancel them, but it gets kind of tight, and
Yeah.
you wanna be right towards the convention center there, so. Was it February or January?
It's January.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's not the warmest in Milwaukee.
It's January
19th.
18th.
19th
is
is 20th.
Tuesday, so the 19th to the 21st.
That's right, it's always over my birthday.
So you'd encourage as many to
I
attend as
forgot
possible,
that.
right?
If you're interested.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I certainly thought it was worthwhile. So I've gone to one in person and one virtually.
It'll say there's some Tuesday afternoon stuff?
There's usually some early birds.
Tuesday, 1:30
I
to
haven't
7.
looked, I haven't looked through it yet. But again, it's excellent professional development for board members. And it's, one nice thing about what Wisconsin does is it's a joint, it's superintendents, it's administrators and board, which I think is fantastic.
Okay. Next up then is the policy updates. These are not nearly as involved as last time. So the first one, 0145, sexual and other forms of harassment. The committee is recommending the Neola recommendations only. There weren't any choices. Did anybody have any questions on that policy? The second one, 0167.3, public comment at board meetings. This was a little more involved. We were taking our district-specific policy and putting it together with the Neola template. So I sent a copy of that one. So we're recommending that we eliminate that entire portion about agenda item because we have a separate policy that addresses that. And then the rest of it, we put in the language and the options that we currently have, did anybody have any questions about any of those?
Seem to match what we,
Pardon me?
seem to match what we do right now.
Yes. Marge or Matt, is there anything you want to add on that one?
No, just that it's very similar to what we currently have.
We did discuss going back to people having to actually be at the meeting to make a public comment, but the three of us all agreed that in these times, it may be best to continue what we're doing.
Yeah, why limit it right now?
Do we address does it address, I don't think it does, about a person giving up their time for somebody else to speak? Because technically you'd be over the 3 minutes on one topic. If we did have that come up.
We have,
If we just let it go, I'm fine doing that, but it is, there has to
I
be.
thought we talked about it. Did we talk about it? What was it, was it, I just read it?
each statement would be limited to 3 minutes, and we use the times that we have now, 3 minutes and 20 minutes. Obviously, at the board meeting, we have in the past extended that as needed. There's nothing specifically in there that says one person can give their time to another. It wasn't in the Neola template either.
So I mean, we did it this year, we let it go, which I'm fine with, I just.
Maybe not.
And from what I saw of other school board meetings in the area, they did as well.
Okay.
That they allowed the other one.
They allowed people
Somebody
to
to,
use other people's minutes.
Just so that person can keep.
Just so they don't go over 20 minutes.
Well, we extended our 20 minutes, yeah. I'm not, so I mean, that's a decision we can make as a board each
Well, it says,
meeting.
yeah, per board vote.
Say that one person can give one slot instead of having 5 people come in and say, we're gonna give them all to this guy, so he can be up there for 15 or 20 minutes. You could limit it.
We can, yes. We
Well-
have that option.
I don't know if I missed it, but the other piece on this was cutting it off at a certain time.
It's in here.
Is it in there? Okay.
Yeah.
And we followed the same information that is in our current policy, 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes total.
Yeah, that's what I had written in here, but I just can't remember seeing that, where we cut it off at the beginning of the meeting.
Well, you did allow for longer if it was a hot button topic, right? It's dependent. I mean, I think having a limit is the right thing, but if you have a bunch of people that want to talk, you've got to take it circumstance by circumstance. And
Well, we did that. We had
That's-
40 minutes one night.
right, yeah, which is, I think, the right thing to do. Yeah.
Anything else on this policy? Lacey?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that I'm not ignoring you.
No, sometimes it gets a little mumbly too. I'm trying my best to hear everything, but some is hard to hear. So I'm following along on what's been sent to us as well.
Okay, all right, so I'm just going to wait then, and if you have a question, just jump in.
Perfect.
All right. The next item in the list then is 0171.1, President, Neola recommendations only, no choices. That was pretty short. Any questions on that one? 1210, Board District Administrator relationship. In paragraph 2, the committee is recommending that we strike in paragraph 2, just that small phrase, consistent with policy 1230.01, development of administrative guidelines. We do not have this policy, and it is addressed already in our administrative guidelines. Did anybody have any questions on that one? 2240, controversial issues in the classroom. In paragraph 1, just strike of education, so it's consistent with our other updates, and it just simply refers to the board. And in paragraph 8, the choice taken is the one that is in our current active policy. Which is that in the discussion of any controversial issue in the classroom or in the course of professional duties, a teacher may not express a personal opinion. That's in our current active policy. So it's consistent with what we're doing now. Did anybody have any questions on this policy? All right, the next one, 2266. On page 2, supportive measures. Oh, that was just a grammatical typo thing with the parentheses. On page 6, paragraph 1, there was a comma, again, just a grammatical typo thing. In page 7, under the heading timeline, B2, inform the parties that they may have an advisor of their choice who may be, but is not required to be, an attorney, and may inspect and review evidence. We had several policies at our October meeting that had something like this in there, but it specifically also said at their own cost. And so we asked Chris, our Neola representative, if that could be added. And he said yes, but he also said it would be a good idea to check with our legal person. So, Mark, I was wondering if you could do that?
Okay, I'm looking at timeline, so I'm not on the computer, I've got the hard copy here.
Okay, so page 7, timeline, under letter B.
Notice?
Number 2.
Okay, yep.
And there's another place where it says the same thing. That's on page 9. Under the heading, investigation of a formal complaint of sexual harassment. And again, it's letter B, where we would just add in that part at their own cost. So from Neola's legal advice, they're saying, yeah, it's okay to put it in. But Chris was just saying it might be a good idea to run it by your own district's attorney, just to be sure. And then on page 9, investigation of a formal complaint of sexual harassment, letter C. It's 2461, recording. It says in the policy, recording of district meetings involving students and/or parents. We have policy 2461, but it's a different name. It's recording of IEP team meetings. And I sent several emails back and forth with Chris about this, and he just sent me the most recent template they have. And it's the policy we have, IEP team meetings. So we just need to change the name of it in this policy. Page 9, the capital D down there at the bottom, that was just a typo. Page 10, paragraph under B, formal discipline, so it's that first paragraph at the end of the numbers. We need to strike the reference to policy 5610.02. We do not have this policy, however, this item is addressed in our student handbooks. And then on page 10, they just put the IE in the wrong spot, so that needs to be fixed. And on page 11, the paragraph immediately preceding the heading of appeal, it says the Title IX coordinator is responsible. for the effective implementation of any remedies, but that should be the district administrator. Because if you look up at that first paragraph in this section, right below letter E, it says that the Title IX coordinator will notify the district administrator of the recommended remedies so appropriate action can be taken, because it's up to the district administrator to take that, whatever that appropriate action is. The next one, again, is just a grammatical typing problem. And then on page 13, under the heading of record keeping, I just wanted to point out that last paragraph. The district will make its training materials publicly available on its website. Could you just check and see if it is? I have no idea if it is or not. Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
I can look. I don't think it is.
I don't even know. I mean, we have a search bar on the district website, right? Page 14. Yeah, it was just a typo again with a comma for both of those. So there was, you know, this was the longest policy we had. There was a lot of little stuff, but it wasn't anything too big. Do you guys have any questions about anything on this one? Marge or Matt, do you want to add anything?
Really small typo on page 9. On the bottom, determination regarding responsibility in bold on the bottom.
The letter D?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got that already.
Okay, that's all I saw, that jumped out at me, so.
Yep. All right, the next one then, there's 3 of them that we did together, 3215, 4215, and 7434. They all have to do with the use of tobacco and nicotine. And all 3 policies are nearly identical. The only thing is 3215 is professional staff, 4215 is support staff, and 7434 is on school premises, so it refers to visitors. 7434, Neola recommendations only, no choices. 3215 and 4215 had 1 typo, and it's shown in the notes there. Just the addition of the word "the," responsible for the safekeeping. Any questions on these 3 having to do with tobacco and nicotine? Uh, 5112, entrance age, there was 1 choice, and the committee is recommending that we choose that option about any student and or his or her parents who enters the district for the first time must disclose prior or pending school expulsions at the time of enrollment. Any questions or comments on this one?
Is that 5512 or 5112?
It's just labeled wrong.
Oh, is it?
The actual policy's right, if you open it up.
Okay.
Oh, is it 5512 on the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5112. Sorry, I didn't catch
Nope,
that.
all good.
Okay, the next one, suspension, expulsion of students with disabilities, 5605. These are Neola recommendations only, there's no choices. It was pretty short, it just says we're gonna follow the law, basically. 8500 food services. On page 2, under the heading dietary modifications, I think Chris already took care of some of this. There was a new paragraph put in green that was addressed the same thing in the paragraph above it, and Chris already fixed it, I think, by taking it out. And the recommendation of the committee, after talking with Chris, is that part about the school days, is that just eliminate it, so that in accordance, so the medical certification must be submitted from a healthcare provider without giving a limit or a certain amount of days. According to Chris, that's what most of the school districts are doing.
They're just eliminating that?
They just take out that language within school days. Just that it must be submitted from a healthcare provider.
Right. I just thought it would give our food service a little time to
Right.
prepare that.
And then page 2, under the heading bad debt, there was some language that got taken out by accident. It was supposed to be, where is that? Any related collection cost, including legal cost arising from such bad debt after they've been determined to be uncollectible, are also unallowable. Supposed to be unallowable, not allowable. Okay. And then on page 3, negative balances. Balances, paragraph 5. We sent an email to Dave and Mark asking about what should be there, or what their recommendation was, and Dave sent me an email today, and I think he included you guys, right? He said that currently we're doing option B, and he said that he would recommend that we continue with option B. And then the third paragraph there, I just wanted to point out that the district administrator is responsible and shall provide a report regarding the district's compliance with the standards at one of its regular meetings annually. And I'm not sure that's been done.
Doesn't Dave do that?
Does he?
I think Dave updates us on this.
He usually does it because him and Michelle work on it together.
Yeah, I remember Dave presenting on it.
Okay.
So you can go back?
Sure.
Are you done?
Yep.
Just back to that option A that, or option B that Dave recommended?
Yep.
So on the draft policy here that's attached to the, option B is struck?
Yep.
A is, so we'll have, make sure that's switched?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
That's the same thing.
Okay, so there was nothing else with this one. And then wellness. There were 2 copies of this policy in our board docs. And when the committee met, we didn't have the template. So I went through the template and it's way longer. And I just took what we had done together and put it into that policy. But we should go through this one, and that's why I made sure I sent you guys everybody has a copy of that. That's in the folder that Tasia put on the agenda that says updates or something, right?
Policy committee recommendations.
Okay. So, under policy leadership, on page 1, we're recommending option 1. On page 2, under the heading required public involvement, paragraph 1, we recommend taking the option within the paragraph. On page 2, we recommend taking that heading, District Wellness Committee. We do have a District Wellness Committee. Then under the Wellness Committee, the committee formation heading, we recommend option 3. And one time during the school year. I think that's in the state law that you have to do it at least once. And then under committee representatives, we put X's in all the participants that we currently have in our current policy. And then down in the nutrition standards, again, we, let's see, we didn't have any, we just took A. All meals meet or exceed current nutrition requirements. And as it says in the notes, other options may be implemented without specifically including them in the policy. So just because they're not in the policy doesn't mean you can't do them. It's just that we don't have to check every single thing in the policy. But what we put in our policy, we have to make sure that we're following. Page 3, strike the entire heading of school meal program participation and content because it's not required. We still can promote school meal programs without specifically including it in the policy. Page 4, under the heading foods and beverages sold outside of school meals, recommend option A only with the additional language during the school day. Again, other options in this section may be implemented without specifically including them in the policy. Tell me if I'm going too fast. Should I keep going? All right. Page 4, under the heading foods offered, provided, but not sold, we recommend option B. We tried to go as closely as possible with what we currently have without, and also making it the least cumbersome. Pages 4 and 5, under the heading fundraising, recommend option A. Page 5, under the heading of marketing, recommend option A. Page 5 and 6, under the heading nutrition education, recommend option E only. Again, those other options could be implemented, but they don't need to specifically be included in the policy. Page 7, under the heading nutrition promotion, recommend option D only. Other options may be implemented without specifically including them in the policy. Page 7, 8, under the heading physical activity, recommend options F, G, and P, which reflects our current active policy. Page 8, under the heading physical education, recommend options A, B, C, J, L, O, P, which reflects what we have in our current active policy. Page 9, under the heading Other School-Based Strategies for Wellness, recommend option D. Other options may be implemented without specifically including them in the policy. Page 10, under the heading Staff Wellness, recommend option A. Other options may be implemented without specifically including in the policy. For example, they list some things that we do, but we can still do that, like we do a flu shot clinic, we do a health survey, we have a health newsletter that goes out to our staff. We can continue doing all those things without specifically saying we're going to, including them in the policy. Page 10, under the heading community engagement, recommend option D with the addition of language through the district website. Page 1011, under the heading Additional Strategies for Consideration, recommend option G. Other options may be implemented without specifically including them in the policy. Page 11 and 12, the paragraph that starts with furthermore. Recommend options A, B, C, F, G with the added language that's written in there to reflect what is in our current active policy. Page 12, under the heading Monitoring and Evaluation, recommend option B with the Somerset School District web address, reflecting our current active policy. Page 13, under the heading Public Notice, no options recommended, reflecting our current active policy. Our current active policy just has those paragraphs. And those options are not required. Page 13, under heading Record Retention, recommend options A through D, which reflect our current active policy. So this one was pretty involved too. Did anybody have any questions or comments on any of this? It was a lot.
Why did we not have counselors checked in that one option in?
For staff.
Yeah, yeah, the administrative board members, teachers,
You-
teachers.
Yeah, you certainly could, but it would be another requirement that we'd have to meet if we check it.
Wasn't it may?
And no, it was,
Stakeholders may include?
may include. The reason it wasn't checked is because it's not in our current policy. And I know the guidance counselors are required to participate in a lot of other stuff, and it's just one thing that they wouldn't have to do, you know, if we don't check them. But we can sure check them if you want to.
Whoever's in the building who wants to be on it.
Right.
I mean, this doesn't say they have to have anybody on, we're just saying. So, I mean, does it exclude them if we don't put them, check the box?
No. No, which is a lot with all of those other ones where we just picked one option. It doesn't mean you can't do the other ones, it's just that once we put them in the policy, it really restricts you. For this particular one that you're talking about with the guidance counselor, I think it says may. Stakeholders may include.
Yep.
So we can check guidance counselors if you want, school counselors. Okay. Were there any other ones? Cherie, do you have a strong opinion on local business representatives?
I guess I'm not sure how many would have a direct connection.
Great. And I think another option was medical and healthcare professionals. And the reason we didn't check it was because it's not in our current policy, that's all. I mean, we could sure check it if we wanted to. It does say community members, parents, so I guess I was hoping that if we had any community members or parents who were in the health profession, that they'd be parents that we'd want to tap.
Business members could also be community members.
Exactly.
It's encompassing.
Yeah. Was there anything else in this policy that you wanted to check? I have to make sure I put the school counselors in the notes. All right, then. Policy 9270, home-based private or tribal schooling, Neola recommendations only, no choices. And policy 9700, relations with non-school affiliated groups, paragraph 1, just strike the of education, so it just says the board. And that was it. So these policies can come forward to the regular session with the exception of policy 2461. I asked Tasia to include that because I was thinking that we were gonna get a policy from Chris that we didn't have, but based on what he sent us, there is no policy. I mean, the policy doesn't have that name, so it must have been just a typo in, I don't know. All right. Topics for action then? Would anybody like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve 14A 1 and 2B 1.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Matt. Any discussion on these items?
Is Anna, the middle school 5th grade, is that the additional 5th grade class?
And that's a start date of when?
November 15th, next
Say
Monday.
on there?
15th, yep. And at that point is when they're gonna reshuffle, or are they gonna start that process sooner? Don't know.
Don't know.
Okay.
I'm
I
sure
haven't
they'll
had, I
start
haven't
it.
talked to Sarah very often, she's been out for,
Yeah, she would know, right?
I think she's back now, so she'll be there Wednesday.
There's no additional information here about Anna, but my understanding is she's a highly qualified instructor with at least 10 years of experience. Her family is moving to the area from another state, so we were very fortunate, I think, in having her apply. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Mark?
No. We got lucky.
All right then, Lacey, how would you feel about going first for once around the table?
We gotta finish your vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so we had a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Lacey?
I just want to say, I know with everything with administration and Mark, teachers, support staff, school nurse, thank you for everything. I know it's been a really stressful time, and a shout out to teachers today. It was our first day distance learning again, and teachers did a wonderful job. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Lacey. Roxanne?
Nothing here. I ditto what Lacey just said.
Sure.
Tasia, you will be greatly missed. Thank you for your time here and kept your shoes to fill. Thank you.
Okay, I'm good. Matt?
Same thing as Lacey said, I just want to say thank you to Mark for your leadership and making a tough decision last week. And the decisions that are gonna come in the next couple weeks from your staff and Sarah's, and the teachers. You know, I have 2 kids that are impacted in the building, and we appreciate your leadership, and thank you. And Tasia, thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Mark?
Thanks, Tasia.
Thank you.
And I wish, I'm hoping that you consider what was done last year to keep the kids in school and think about masks again. And all the other things, because you guys did a great job last year keeping everybody in school. The sanitizing stations or whatever you did, and the social distancing and everything like that, it kept the school open. I'm sad that it came to virtual learning, but I know it has to be done for the teachers and, you know, the staff and the kids. But I'm hoping they reconsider all the things you did last year, to do the same thing again.
All right, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Roxanne. All in favor?
Aye.
Sure.
All right, meeting is adjourned at 8:05 PM. Thank you.
See you tomorrow night.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Everybody.
See, I
5:30.
should've done